Facebook. Oh my gosh, have you got a treat for yourselves today? This is Linda Marcus Smith, your girl. I know a lot of you see this after the fact, so we won't be disheartened if you're not actually here right this second chatting with us. God forbid I should have to do two things at once, interview and chat. It wouldn't work. But I'm so glad that you're at home, kicking back, have some of your clothes on, maybe having a drink. I'm just imagining what you're doing, really. I'd love to tell you who my sponsor is. That is the Veterans of Comedy. They do comedy around the world for military and veterans, by military and veterans. And they'll even do it for people who aren't veterans. So go to the veteransofcomedy.com, look up all the bios. You'll see me in there because I'm a proud military veteran. Enough about me. Enough about me. I am not the reason people speak English. Trust me, I did nothing. I'd like to read the intro of our esteemed guest who comes all the way from another land.
I'm like a steamed guest right now. It's very hot over here. I'm in the tropics. Yes. Steamed guest, yeah.
He's a steamed guest. Raouf Gangjee, the confused Indo-German founder of the worldwide stand-up comedy network, The Comedians, has performed at many venues, and he has appeared numbers of times on television and radio, including interviews to BBC World Service Radio. I know you've heard of it, for his humorous take on events. He has done numerous club and auditorium shows, as well as private and corporate shows. He has also written humor columns. That would be fun. A selection of his articles have been published as a book. He lives by the motto, don't be tied down by mottos. Okay, I wish I had one. He's had people quote what he does, kept the audience in a fit with well-timed jokes. That's from the Times of India. Another quote from the Telegraph, the crowd showed their love with claps and wolf whistles.
Ooh.
And he was quoted as being brilliant by the Red magazine. He's on YouTube, he's on Facebook, he's on WhatsApp, he's probably on Instagram and Twitter. We don't know yet. Bring him on. I'm going to bring him on.
People actually read that magazine. You know? That's what.
And it's not just only read in a communist country. We are so glad to bring him back. We've interviewed him before, me and the rock in my pocket. I don't know why I'm saying we. I've interviewed him. And today, Raouf Gangjee is here, and you're just I would love to bring him on, and he's gonna fill us in on how far he's come from not being in comedy to doing all he's doing in comedy. So let's bring him on and hear that first from him. A little reminder for those that didn't see the initial interview. So let's welcome to the stage, Raouf Gangjee. Woo!
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I feel like you're at. Tell everybody where you're at right now.
I'm in a place called Calcutta, but the name has been changed actually. It's not called Kolkata. It's very confusing. Calcutta was a name given by the British, okay? And then Kolkata was a Bengali corruption of the name Calcutta, which they don't understand. So now they've, because you're supposed to go back to the original name, but this is not the original name. It's a corruption of the British name. So now they're proudly calling it the corruption of a British name. So that's where I am.
Wow. So honestly, it's not a joke. They call it Kolkata now.
Yeah, it's officially Kolkata, and it's funny because Kolkata is actually a mispronunciation of the British name, but it sounds like a local name, so that's why they call it Kolkata.
I love it. That's the spirit. Stick it to them. I get it. We all have a little of that in us. So
yeah, I'm half German and half Indian, so I have twice the motivation to make fun of the British and their royal family and so on.
For example, I'm 100% German.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay, but you don't speak German though, right?
It was my first language.
Oh, wait, what, really? Du sprichst Deutsch?
Yes, ein
Verstehst du, was ich?
bisschen.
Oh, that bisschen was badly pronounced. They should, it's the sir and the here are separate. It's bisschen, but you mashed it up and joined and made it bisschen. Well, I mean, at least you understood. Okay, all right. At least that's better than most people can do. Yeah. Now you
I
try
hate
Kolkata. Can you say
speaking.
that?
Every time I speak German, I get corrected. I hate
English
it.
too, I bet.
No, never in. Oh my gosh. So I'm half Jewish, half Christian, and my parents went through the Holocaust.
Oh, that's
Aren't I
very
a
sad.
winner? I'm a big winner.
Yeah, you survived. That's amazing. I'm so glad you did. Yeah, you
My
got through all that.
parents
Yeah,
did. I wasn't born yet. That's,
that's great. That's great that they did. Yeah.
yes,
No,
indeed. So, how little were you when you came from Germany to India?
no, I've lived in. I was actually born in Calcutta. I've lived in Germany and India, and I was also in the U.S. for 4 years. So I've been in various places, but right now I live in the place where I was born, and that's Calcutta. I grew up speaking English and German at home with my parents, which is why I never really learned the Indian languages fluently. And that's a big problem because I'm an English wordplay. It's bad enough being an English comic in India, but if you're an English wordplay comic, that's even worse. And I like telling slightly difficult jokes. And that's a terrible thing to do. But so I've had to adapt by coming up with a lot of punchlines in local languages, and that always works well for me. But I'm not good enough in the local languages to tell a full joke or do a full set. But being a wordplay comic, I can always come up with a punchline, and that works best for me. So I work quite hard at that. I try to find punchlines in local languages, and that works well.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I know what you mean about wordplay. Sometimes it's looked down upon, but it is a type of comedy. And you also spoke about difficult comedy. And sometimes people don't want to have a smart joke, but I love smart wordplay. That's why when I mentioned Wendy Liebman to her, you're gonna love her comedy because it's smart wordplay.
Yeah, I saw some of her. I saw a video you sent me, or I know I looked for one and saw it. I like her comedy. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us where you started off getting into comedy and how you got to where you're at. What took the Tell us the trajectory of your life in a few minutes.
Well, most of my life I didn't do comedy. As you know by now, I was probably the first person to give a funny graduation speech in the USA. That's a long, long time ago, and since then, I didn't really do much. But then, about almost 10 years ago, I started a group in Calcutta because there was no stand-up comedy here, and I wanted to practice and learn it myself. And I think I mentioned this before. I had a contest to try to find comedians where I offered a prize of 1 lakh rupees, which is a lot of money here. That's about 100,000 in rupees, which is not as much, which is not as much as it sounds in dollars, but it was an attractive price, and only 4 people came to compete. And then for the next few years, we were just doing shows without doing open mics. We did no open mics. We went straight to shows and did a few shows, and that's all that happened for a few years. But now there are a lot of stand-up comedians here.
That's wonderful. And you said you've also lived and performed in New York. Can you tell people about that? Because you already told me about it.
No, I haven't performed. I did things like that funny graduation speech in New York. I wasn't doing stand-up. I did stand-up much later, quite recently when I found, at that time, I wasn't doing it, but I was doing funny speeches occasionally. I gave the graduation speech at my graduation, and
I
it was a
call
funny
that
speech.
comedy.
Well, yeah, there were some decent jokes in it, like the one I mentioned already. I said, because we were graduating, so I said, well, you're all big kids now. When I look around me, I see adults. That's because there happen to be a lot of parents here today. Things like that, So there were some pretty good jokes, but some of it was not funny. In the end, you always have to say how much, despite all the jokes and so on, you actually love everybody and so on. So I had to do that, even though I didn't want to. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed doing that.
And so what is it that got you into comedy, and how has that been going other
Well,
than
I'll tell you. After coming back here, then later I started doing some of those humor columns. I used to be a humor columnist for a newspaper. In fact, my humor column was quite widely read. I'll send you some columns if you like. And then later, somebody came and started stand-up comedy in Mumbai. And so I decided to start it in Calcutta. And I started with that contest. And then it took a few years to get started. We started, as I said, doing shows without doing open mics. But then slowly we understood we didn't even know what an open mic was. We didn't know that that's what you had to do for comedy. But then we realized that's what you have to do. You have to practice. And so we started doing open mics. And now there are a lot of open mics going on. And a lot of people who are comedians or think they are comedians. In fact, there are too many now.
Yes, isn't that always the case? So let's talk about what I brought you on to talk about. You're doing something amazing, like you mentioned. You've gotten comedy started in India, and now it's a big deal around the world with what you're doing. So
I didn't exactly. No, I didn't get it started in India. I got it started in Calcutta, and also and also in a couple of other cities like Bhubaneswar, which you never heard of. But I started comedy in several cities, starting with Calcutta. This was mostly on the east side of India. On the west side, somebody had already started in Mumbai, but I started in Calcutta and a bunch of other cities. Yeah. Okay, carry on with your question.
And so you started comedy in parts of India, not all of them, but parts.
No.
And now you're doing something amazing. And I want to acknowledge you for how I see you persevering week after week, month after month, producing shows and getting talent from around the world to come onto Zoom. You deserve the Nobel Peace Prize if you can get comics from around the world to get along for an hour. You deserve something.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Tell everybody what you're doing with Comedians International.
Well, one reason I started was because as I said, I'm an English comic myself and a wordplay comic. So I don't always find the right audience here. I usually have to do jokes with non-English punchlines. And so I wanted to just do the kind of comedy I enjoy doing. And an international English-speaking audience is a much better audience for that sort of thing, usually. So that's why I started doing it. But then we got together with all these comics. I started meeting them. I'm doing these international comedy nights where a lot of comics perform. And now, in fact, I have some plans for live shows, which you'll hear more about later. Basically, a lot of comics get together, and we have some really good shows from all over the world. And
yes, you do.
So for example, in Calcutta, a lot of people benefited from this. Some of they learned comedy, they became professionals, and so on. I don't know how much people will benefit from these shows because a lot of them are already comedians. But it's a good way of getting to meet a new audience, and because otherwise, before the pandemic, people didn't really perform for audiences from other countries. It was just like the major comics who used to travel internationally. Most people didn't even know, because audiences in different countries react differently. And it's great to be able to connect with them and find out how different kinds of humor work. So these shows are great because I find that people have a different sense of humor in different countries, and they find different things funny. And as a comedian, you learn from that. You really learn, you become a better comedian because the main thing in comedy is connecting with your audience. You have to connect, and your audience has to find the show funny, because what you're doing is you're trying to entertain the audience, because every joke is both funny and not funny. Some people find it funny, some people don't think it's funny. So one of the things a comedian has to be able to do is connect with his audience, or her audience, sorry. and that's I've learned a lot of things about people in different countries and what different kind of jokes they enjoy. For example, in India, it's I can't think of a single wordplay comic in the local languages. There's not a single. It's all observational comedy. So I have to adapt to that. But in the US, England, there are some wordplay comics who like playing with words. And there are two kinds of audiences too. You either some people enjoy wordplay comedy more, and some people enjoy observational comedy. And I think I gave you this example before. When people were comparing Steve Wright and George Carlin, most people like George Carlin. I like Steve Wright. So that gives you some idea of my kind of humor and what wordplay is. And anyone who's into wordplay comedy would probably like Steve Wright better than George Carlin. But observational comedy is definitely more popular all over the world. It's just that, and every comic has to be able to do a little observational comedy, which, you can't have a comic who can only do wordplay comedy, because sometimes you'll get audiences who won't appreciate what you're doing. So you have to do something different.
Absolutely. You have to be versatile. And when you do comedy with people from around the world and for people around the world, it's like you're getting two different master's degrees at the same time. You're really putting yourself in a position to learn so much.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about the kind of people you get on your shows. It's so impressive.
Oh, by the way, it doesn't end here. I plan to have some live shows and so on. You'll hear more about that. I'm planning an event that happens in different countries. So I'll know more. I can't talk too much about that right now because it hasn't even been planned properly yet, but it's in the works. So we'll talk about that later.
I can't wait to hear about that.
Yeah. Now carry on with the question you asked about the different people on my show, right?
Yes, I can't wait for the shows to go live. I got to say that really loudly. And wherever you are, look for Comedians International, or it might say Comedians Las Vegas, but when it says Comedians with a K, that's Raouf Gangjee, and it's going to be super great. So the other thing is the type of comedy that you bring on a regular basis. You take nobody people and you put them with superstars. You have a lineup of people like myself who are nowhere in comedy yet, and you put me on a show with Leanne Lord, for Lord's sake, literally Lord's sake. And you give an opportunity to somebody like myself to be able to say, I shared the stage with Leanne Lord. That's a huge thing you're doing for the comedy community. And
well, if you remember, I didn't really put you in the main lineup to start with. I gave you a very short spot of 3 to 5 minutes to see how you would perform. And by that time, you were already funny, because a few months ago you were not so funny, but you did that spot very well. And then I gave you a spot in the main lineup where you were performing with Leanne, right?
Yes.
So, and you are, just in case your audience doesn't know it, you've become very funny now. Definitely funnier than you were a few months ago.
I know.
So I think you're going to keep. I think you're going to keep developing, and you're going to be a very good comedian. I think so.
Thank you. All of a sudden, I got funnier. I don't know. I didn't try. I wasn't trying. So, what are some of the best things that have happened on Comedians International on your end?
Well, as I said, for me, it's just meeting audiences from different countries and seeing how my jokes work and learning as a comedian. You always learn. You never stop learning, and you never stop improving, because first of all, the more you perform, the better you get. And secondly, the more you are able to, the more you can connect with your audience, and the more you learn about different audiences. And then you understand after a while that, jokes of this kind work and jokes of that kind don't work. And you also develop an ability to connect with your audience, which there are not necessarily strict rules for. It's just something, you can make certain rules for it, try and find out what the audience wants to hear. So, but somehow you develop a feel for it, and then that happens with everything, right? Not just comedy. and it becomes more easy the more you perform. I think the secret of comedy is just performing as much as you can. I need to perform a lot more, and every comedian should just keep performing and keep getting better. I don't think one ever stops. That's why, for example, I don't know, to give you an example, they play cricket here, right? Now you see these cricket players at the nets, as we call them, and they keep having people bowl to them, as we say, and they keep playing the ball, and they keep doing that for hours and hours. Why do they do that? They already know how to bat, but then the more you do it, the better you become. You just you start being a good batsman, as they call it, even without trying. You just develop a knack, and you're able to deal with all kinds of situations. As they say, you have to do everything in practice before you do it in a cricket match. And the same way, you just perform, and you just, for example, there was a guy who came to India who had done something like 10,000 street shows in the UK, and this was a few years ago when comedy had just begun, and we were amazed at how quick this guy was and how quick his replies were and so on. But then we understand now that it's because he has performed so much, and I think anyone can become a good comedian if he or she performs enough. I think that's all there is to it. People might tell you, do this, do that, tell this kind of joke, structure your jokes like this. Yeah, those are minor points. The main thing is you just have to perform as much as you can. I think if a comedian just does that, just performs as much as he can, and does hundreds and hundreds of shows, and nobody gives him any other advice about anything, he will be a very good comedian. That's pretty much all there is to it, because you learn everything along the way.
Yes, you do. And sometimes you don't need other people giving you advice. The audience will teach you from their response or lack thereof.
Yes. You learn everything. You learn everything as you go along. As you perform, it's like that in everything, in sports, in any other, developing any other skill. That's how it is.
It doesn't really do any good to give people advice if they don't ask for it or they don't want it. I've done
you
it.
You can offer people advice. You can offer people advice, and sometimes they may not be happy to receive it, and then it's time to stop giving them advice.
That's right. So you have Comedians International, and I think I've seen sub-comedians, like Comedians Calcutta, Comedians.
Yeah.
So how many different factions of comedians do you have?
I think there must be about 30 in India, and quite a few abroad as well now. I haven't, the ones in India have all had live shows and so on. The ones abroad are all doing Zoom shows at the moment. But I have plans to, as I said, do live shows. So you'll hear more about that once I've worked out those plans. It's good to have this network because, for example, in India, if somebody wants to travel to another city, then we have the infrastructure because there are some comedians from the group in the other city, and they can help that person find, say, open mics or find a place to stay or give them a spot in a show and so on. It's very useful to have this infrastructure.
That's fabulous. How do you keep all of that organized and straight in your head?
I don't. I just start the group, and then some people, and then it's up to people whether they want to develop the groups or not. In India, because I can't micromanage and I can't handle so much. I would have no time for my own comedy. So I do it in the simplest way. It's like it's structured. Once you create a structure, everything moves ahead on its own if it wants to. You have somebody who will say, okay, I want to do this in Bhubaneswar. I say, okay, go ahead and do it. If you need some support from me, he'll do it. As long as it's done in a structured way, anyone can come in and do something. And I don't have to work too hard at it.
That's wonderful. So what would you like people to know about the very next Comedians International show?
Well, we have Kathy Ledman, and that's someone who Linda introduced me to. So thanks for doing that, Linda. And she's, according to Linda, she's one of the best comedians in the US. No, in fact, according to Kathy's own bio, she's one of the best comedians in the US. So we'll see. I know that she's very well known, and I know that she's done a lot of things, including writing for TV and so on. And I saw one of her videos, and she was very funny. So yeah, I think she probably is one of the best comedians. So I'm looking forward to seeing her perform live on next Sunday after next, I beg your pardon.
Yes, she's very great at that. And she's a nice person to get to know and have on your side because she's a straight shooter and there's a lot of phonies in this business and she's not
Okay,
one of them.
that's good.
She won't give you a compliment if you're not due a compliment. And I really appreciate people like her.
Okay, okay. Has she given you a compliment?
What?
Has she given you a compliment?
She did. I interviewed
Oh,
her.
okay, nice.
I interviewed her and Wendy Liebman the same day.
Oh,
And
nice. Okay.
Kathy came on and she said, it's always so nice to see your posts come on Facebook. They entertain me. And I'm like, my posts entertain Kathy Ledman. I should have some kind of ego now, but like,
Yeah.
are you just saying that? But she doesn't say it if she doesn't mean it.
She means it, right? Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's good. No, I said that too. I mean, you are becoming very funny now, so that's great.
Thank
A few months
you.
ago, you were not. A few months ago, you were not.
wasn't. I
But you are
wonder
now.
what changed. Why did I get funny? I don't know how to do
You
this.
just kept. Well, I'll tell you. You kept performing. Okay, tell me something. How many times have you done comedy, including open mics, shows? Roughly, give me some rough idea.
2000.
Really? Okay. All right. So, well, then you've performed enough, and at some point, I mean, you keep getting funny. At some point, you come to the stage where you are funny enough for people like Kathy to compliment you. So that's where you've got now. And you are intelligent. You have brains.
I have a brain injury. And for the first 5.5 years, I was so worried about remembering all my lines. And in the last 6 months, I don't care if I remember the lines. Oh, please, something else will come in my head.
Maybe you don't need to now. Maybe you're so experienced now that you don't need to. It gets much. If you had tried to not care what came into your head, say a year ago, then it would have been disastrous, right?
Yes.
But now you can do that. Now you can do that. That's great.
Yeah. So what's the best thing that has happened to you in your comedy when you've been going and performing? Like all of a sudden I got funny. What is something fabulous that happened to you when you were just minding your own business doing comedy?
I was never minding my own business. I was always minding other people's business because I started by starting these groups of people, right? And I started them because I wanted to learn comedy and I couldn't do it on my own. So I was always minding other people's business and performing with them and so on. But if you mean just performing and practicing and so on, yeah, the same thing happens. After some time, you realize that it's much easier and your jokes are working better. And that keeps happening. You keep getting better. So that's all there is to it. I can't emphasize that enough. Just if people try to give you advice, okay, it's always helpful, and you learn a bit from that. But nothing teaches you comedy like performing comedy. I would, if anyone's thinking of doing it, I say, then never mind. Even if you know nothing about comedy, get on stage at an open mic and try out some jokes. And after just about 10 or 15 performances, you notice a difference. And notice it's becoming easier. And then after about 50, after 100, after about 100 performances, it's pretty certain that you'll be a good comedian, a pretty decent comedian. Maybe not good enough to headline shows and so on, but you will start, and people will notice that too. They'll notice the difference. So just keep performing. That's it.
Yes. Well, you're a fabulous host on your shows, and you did something amazing. I'm just gonna put out a teaser. I'm not gonna tell you folks at home what he does that makes him such a remarkable, unforgettable host. You gotta tune in to see what it is. It's like a book report in high school, remember? They didn't tell you how the book finished. So you gotta come watch on December 5th, 7:30 Pacific, and whatever, everywhere else in the world, whatever time that is. Just come and watch his hosting skills. They're very unique. Very unique.
And watch Linda as well. She's going to be on the show as well. She's doing a guest spot this time. She was in the main lineup last time. This time she's doing a guest spot. So come and watch her too.
Thank you. Yes, I get to do it 3 to 5 minutes. Woo! I can't wait. Well, you give me 1 minute, I'm happy. Are you kidding me with Kathy Ledman? I'll sweep the floor all the way from Vegas. I'll sweep your floor in Calcutta. Isn't there a dance called Calcutta?
No, there's a musical called Calcutta where people take off their clothes on stage. You know that one, right? Oh, Calcutta. That's called Oh, Calcutta.
That's what I'm talking about.
But Calcutta is not like that. There are some people who run around naked in Calcutta, but that's because they can't afford clothes.
Not just the dogs and cats. People.
It's better now, though. It's better now. It's better. Calcutta was stereotyped as a very poor place full of beggars and so on. We still are, but at least the beggars are better dressed now.
That's good. Well, what would you like to say to people who are watching to close this whole whatever it is we did today out?
Well, come and watch our show and send me lots of money. I don't know. Should I do a few jokes or something? Okay, I'll give you an example of the kind of wordplay jokes I do, which appeal to some people, not to others. For example, okay, you tell me if you like this one. What language did Romulus and Remus speak with their mother?
I don't know.
Dog Latin. You don't get that, right? Okay.
I get it.
Since she was a wolf. There was this magnificent eagle that got tired of its nesting trees being cut down, but decided to join the enemy since it could not fight them, and became a lumberjack. On its first day at work, the boss gave it a chainsaw and said, "Okay, now soar like an eagle." So, and that's and I have stupid, simple ones Should I do a dirty joke? No, not in this program. Anyway.
Yes, you can.
So
just the military shows on Saturday and Sunday have to be clean. Yes, you can.
Okay. No,
I want dirty.
Seriously?
Yeah, I get sick of clean.
All right. Well, let me think. I've been doing clean jokes so long I can hardly remember the dirty ones. But there were okay. So in Ireland, I was arrested. Oh, sorry, it's a clean one. Anyway, I'll do it anyway. In Ireland, I was arrested for not believing in the Blarney Stone. I said it was a sham rock. I visiting England, I wanted to buy you've heard this one, to buy a smart camera to take good pictures, but ended up paying far more than what the price tag said. I asked the shopkeeper why. He said, well, the camera adds 10 pounds. So on. That's the kind of jokes I like.
See, they're smart and they're wordplay, and I love that.
Some are not really wordplay. Like, okay, I did this joke in the last show, right? And I did another joke, which is not a wordplay joke. And those actually work better usually. Like I said, there was this friend of mine who really hates traveling in airplanes. Once he missed a flight because he was scared that the plane might crash. I told him, listen, do you know that your chances of getting killed in a car accident are thousands of times greater than your chances of being killed in a plane crash? He said, really? I didn't know that. Thanks for the information. Then later that week, he had another scheduled flight. So afterwards, I asked him, so how was your flight? He said, I missed it. I said, again? Why this time? He said, because I was too scared to drive to the airport. So that's not a wordplay joke. This kind of joke usually works better.
Yeah, that's not wordplay. That's a good joke. I like it. Well, you've been amazing to come on, and I'm so happy with all that you're doing in the comedy world, around the world. You've got a big, huge presence and a big heart for other comedians, and you are a person of your word. Whatever you say you're going to do for people, I know firsthand you do it, and that's got to give that up for you, Raouf.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for getting me a good headliner for the next show. Thanks. I'm looking forward to watching.
I'm thinking of other people for you too, because there's a lot of people.
Sure. The more help we get, the better, because we want to really build this up into a good series, which it already is, but it can get better. And we also in future want to do some live shows and so on. So let's see where this goes. It's all an experiment. but it's working well so far. And I think it can only keep getting better.
You've gotten some of the hugest talent. You've gotten Carol Montgomery, Vanessa Hollingshead, Kathy Ledman. I mean, who are some of the other people you've had on that Americans would know?
I've had Mark Normand and
Wow.
And Dwayne Perkins and people like that. So a lot of good comics. A lot of good comics.
Fabulous. Just fabulous. Well, I'll let you go for now, and I look forward to seeing you and all of you at home on Zoom, Comedians International, December 5th, 7:30 a.m. Pacific time, and whatever around the world. That's how much I know.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
It's 3:30 p.m. UTC. You can Google that. All right?
Okay.
3:30 p.m. UTC.
What's UTC?
Anyone can just say. It's universal coordinated time or something like that. So it's 3:30. Oh, well, okay, then just say EST then. Everybody gets that, right? 10:30 p.m. EST. I mean
No,
AM. Sorry.
UTC is that in Calcutta?
You're from the military. You should know this stuff. But no, UTC is Greenwich Mean Time.
Oh, okay. Got it. See, I didn't know that because UTC, I thought it was like an infection.
No, no, that's STD. But actually,
UTI.
Actually, I like confusing people. Otherwise, I would just say GMT. You get GMT, right?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I should say that in future.
Okay.
Right. Anyway, yeah.
This has been great. I've learned absolutely nothing. I will remember none of this. Your secrets are safe with me. Thank you so much, Raouf Gangjee. Have a great day, and thank you so much. Thanks, audience.
Look forward to doing the next show with you. Take care. Thanks very much to everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye.